the developers that were building like apartment buildings, they're struggling to fill them up. One, they were asking too much money, and two, the cost to build. So they're struggling, and we're going to have an over an abundance to a certain degree coming up soon. Once everybody drops their price, the rent will drop on these apartments, and the condo buildings are going to go down in price. You're going to see a big jump, and this is the fault of the government. Like, they're trying to listen to this episode. Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara Edition with host Stephanie Vivier.
Well, hello there, Rob Golfi. It's such a great pleasure to talk to you. How are you?
Good. Weather's been great. Been doing a lot of spending time working, also spending time off a little bit, and making sure I always have my fingers on the pulse to make sure that we don't lose track. The market has been a little bit softer than usual in July than it was in June, but we're outpacing the real estate boards, so it's kind of hard for us to gauge, but a lot of people were having a lot of realtors struggled in June. We actually had a great month in June, but July we found out that that's when it hit us a little bit with the market. Again, even though with the 2 interest rate drops that they did, it didn't move the needle at all, didn't do anything. But I'm starting to see some properties are starting to sell, because there's only so long that people can hold off on buying a house, because if they need a house. But yeah, like it's been this year is a really a challenging year for realtors, for sure. There's no doubt. I mean, if you're a sole earner and you are the head of the family that's running and main income earner, and you're a realtor, believe me, you're watching your budget, because it's not an easy business to be in right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you never know what's going to happen, and that's where the benefit of being part of your team, Rob. I know you've got a lot of support with one another and really working together in that way. So July a little bit softer. It generally is, though, right? Year to year, is that right?
Yeah, like July is usually pretty soft.
July, things a little bit softer when it comes to home sales last month, but some opportunity there for you, and the Golfi team can help you out with that. Rob, you were talking about 2020, 2021, 2022, that crazy time we all remember in the real estate market. And now what's happening is that a lot of those mortgages that people took out at that time, maybe people refinanced to do some pools and things like that in their homes, it's all coming due. What's happening with that? Yeah,
so there's an increase in bankruptcies with developers. They're struggling because of the high borrowing and construction costs, leading to a surge of insolvencies. Now, insolvencies are on track to surpass levels seen during the global financial crisis. This is something they haven't seen in ever. Now, experts predict more unsophisticated developers will face financial difficulties, and Canada's average is 20 real estate insolvencies per month, right? And expected to reach 240 in 2024, 57% higher. Now, Canada's average insolvencies were 20. And now they're becoming 20 per year. So it's 57% higher than 2023. Now, receiverships, particularly in the real estate sector, have risen sharply. Now, notable projects such as the one in Toronto. Now, the one in Toronto was, I think, Google, I'm not sure, Apple was supposed to be in there. This high rise, I'm not sure how many stories it was, like 70 stories, 80 stories. I'm not sure what it was supposed to happen. And they defaulted. It was like a $1.5 billion in default in money. Now, smaller developers have been hit the hardest. They had less financial security and stuff like that. Now, default on loan due rising interest rates linked to Bank of Canada's rate hikes, because a lot of people are feeling it. The current situation stems from high demand, rising construction costs dating back to 2017. Now, The pandemic impact, slowed development, further escalating costs. Current costs, residential construction costs significantly higher than the 2017, especially in Toronto. So remember how 2x4s were going up like crazy?
That stuff was like gold in 2020.
No kidding. And people were probably stealing it from construction sites.
What's happening?
Yeah. And lenders are becoming less forgiving and pushing more for developers to go into bankruptcy. Now, Bank of Canada rate cuts. Despite recent rate cuts, borrowing remains expensive and demand for new condos is low. Developers can no longer pass a higher cost to buyers. Many condo investments are losing money, and developers now need to excel in all aspects of the project, not just sales. So what's going on is these developers, obviously they borrowing a lot of money. They were making, fortunes out there. So lenders were lending money, not a problem, without even, filling an application. It's how much do you need? I need $100 million. No problem. Here, you write the check, and they pay the interest on that until everything's sold. But right now they're paying interest, and all the other stuff is not selling, and it's just sitting, and they can't finish projects. And so there's a lot of projects out there that started and haven't even they won't finish. And there's one, for instance, in Niagara Falls on near the corner of Stanley and Ferry. You'll see right behind the Dairy Queen there. I'm not sure if you know that area well, but it's in Niagara Falls. There's a big hole in the ground. They were going to build a big condo tower there, condo hotel tower there. They dug the hole and it stopped even before they poured the concrete, and that's just one example of, like, it didn't even get off the ground. And then there's other ones that are in Toronto, like all over the place. There's tons of them that aren't going to get finished. So you're going to see concrete buildings that are not even hitting the peak of the amount of stories that they want to build, and they're just going to sit there, and it's going to take years before they figure out what they're going to do. Do they continue building? Does somebody take the project over and continue building? Because nobody's willing to. I'll tell you, another developer is not going to take over somebody else's project, because condos aren't selling right now. And I think like if you're a retired person and you're looking to move into condo for the rest of your life, opportunity out there is happening right now for you to negotiate a super deal. If I was an investor, I would not buy a condo just because the condo fees are way too expensive, and for it to carry itself, and it just it doesn't make sense. And I think the condos are going to come down even more as time goes on. And then what happened was also the developers that were building like apartment buildings, they're struggling to fill them up. One, they were asking too much money, and two, the cost to build. So they're struggling, and we're going to have an over an abundance to a certain degree coming up soon once everybody drops their price. The rent will drop on these apartments, and the condo buildings are going to go down in price. You're going to see a big jump, and this is the fault of the government. Like, they're trying to push, building in the inner core city high. Not everybody wants to live in a condo. I don't know. Like like it's great when you're a single person, or you're just getting started as a couple and moving in and getting started in life. But you think you want to live in a condo for the rest of your life? That's tough. People want to move into either a townhouse or a single detached home. That's where people want. They got to open up the land outside of the urban boundary and just start developing it. I mean, hey, if you want to keep bringing people into this country, you got to do that. You can't just build up. Not everybody wants to live in a box and in a high rise. So it's they got to change. They got to change things. And so now anybody that was building these high tower developments, they're going to see bankruptcy, and who knows if they can make it back. I mean, if they either start another company, if they have the money to do it, maybe not. It just depends how how wealthy they are still, or how wealthy they still will be even after the bankruptcies. So it's a tough go out there for a lot of developers, especially the small ones. We're basically wiping out the small developers, and it's just going to be the giants left.
Yeah, sort of the same thing with us, a few other industries here in Canada that we've seen.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be sad because there's only going to be few of them, and then they're going to be so powerful that it doesn't give a chance to anybody else to get started to do that business, and that's what's happening. It's like, look at the grocery store chains. Look at the small grocery stores. Like, I mean, they're getting gobbled up because you got Walmart, you got the superstores, and you got all the Zehrs and all that. They're big, giant stores. They can offer better prices because they got the more buying power, and they're wiping out like the small independent guys. And I like going to the grocery stores with the small independent guys because the service is better because the actual owner, franchise owner, is working there, and he sees what's going on. And like, managers are good. I'm not saying they're not good, but when the owner of that franchise, whatever it is working there, they go out of their way to make sure the service level is high. But now those guys are gone almost. Like, I mean, the only franchise guys there are you got your No Frills, you got your Food Basics, and all these other small stores. But I remember, IGA. I don't know. I'm sure there's IGA still around, but there used to be a bunch more in Niagara. I don't see them anymore as much as I used to.
Yeah, the brand's around, but I think it's more in Western Canada. I don't know that we have any out here anymore.
Yeah.
Rob, you're breaking down some of the statistics on sales of city to city. You're telling us about St. Catharines and Welland. And sometimes really where your house is situated can really inflate or deflate the value of your home, decisions that city councils make. And you've got some examples for us today of what cities could do to actually deflate the value of your home.
Yeah, it's amazing how you could be living in a great neighborhood, and all of a sudden it becomes a nightmare neighborhood because because the city just changes things on you. So you think you're moving away. And I'll give you a perfect example. There was a friend of mine. They lived on this court, beautiful court, and the court, the average house on this court, 4 or 5 acres per lot, right?
Beautiful. Wow.
Oh, gorgeous, like treated and everything. So anyway, across the way, I mean, when I first used to go visit him, it was fantastic. I mean, he was kind of the outskirts of Guelph, but then now, like just recently, they're across the street from him. A lot of people sold, and they're going to build high rises. So this guy went from a country property into being right within the urban boundary of city property. And so he that's the frustration that's happening. And they changed zoning, and like this is how your property can deflate in price by things like this happening. And and they're permitting like high density housing right across the street from him. That was he was very not happy about that, but you can't control it. They're just going to do it, and then all of a sudden these beautiful luxury lots are going to be now worth not as much, and who knows who wants to buy it, right? You don't want to have a big you got an expensive house, and you got this big 6-story building in front of you. Sometimes what else, infrastructure changes, like building highways or major roads. They could end up building a highway in your backyard. They need to put a road. That causes deflation. Placing utilities or public facilities. I know sometimes they need a pipeline going through a certain area, and they may have to go through your backyard. And if they do, you can't stop them. They're going to do it. They're going to encroach. And then you can't even put a pool in your backyard. And I did sell a property one time that I asked, it did say there was a what do you call it, an encroachment or a pipeline, right? And but I didn't realize how big this pipeline was, and so I asked the owner. I said, "How big is this pipe that's going through your backyard?" He goes, "Pretty big." He goes, you can't put a pool in this backyard."
Oh, wow.
So you have to disclose that. And we had a buyer and we disclosed it, and he said, "No, we're looking to put a pool in this backyard. If I can't put a pool, I'm not interested." So that hurts a lot. Like, would I want a pipeline in my backyard? Not really. So, depending on the area, reduction in police presence could be a factor. That's in city neighborhoods. Underfunding schools in certain areas, people may not want to go there. And then permitting low quality or incompatible developments, encouraging homeless shelters and temporary housing. I've seen that happen where they've put shelters across the street from a nice neighborhood, and people don't want that. You don't want somebody sneaking in your backyard and taking a bath in your hot tub while you're sleeping. I've seen that happen.
Wow.
Yeah, it was in St. Catharines. A friend of mine had a hot tub in his backyard, and he's hopping in the bathtub, and he's going, "Why is it so sudsy in this tub?" Yeah, I know. It literally St. Catharines. And then he finally figured out, he put a camera and he saw a homeless guy was taking a bath in his hot tub. And I'm like, he just went, "Oh my God."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, you don't, like, can you imagine that? Like, you want, so I don't know. He figured it. I guess he got rid of him anyway. So there's a lot of things. Like, I'll tell you, there's a lot of things. I had one lady one time. She was getting expropriated, and they're building a exit. It was on Bartlett in in Grimsby. She came to me. She says, "What do you think? The city's offered me this much. I really don't want to move." She was on 1 acre. She had like beehives. She had like a little farm, older lady. And I go, "Well, they're offering you a pretty decent amount of money for your house, but I would try to push them more. Use your age and stuff like that." But she's not going to have the same. The money that she was getting would maybe buy a townhouse. And
Right.
I told her, "There's nothing you can do. You're gonna have to move." So yeah, that's the sad thing about when the city expropriates your land and wants to use it for a highway.
Yeah, I hope she was able to get a little bit more out of them. You are listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara Edition. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is here. Still lots to come, including a very special offer from the Golfi team for your home inspection. Also, you should be very careful about what that advertisement says when you are trying to sell your property. Rob's got those details on the way here on News Talk 610 CKTB. Welcome back. This is the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara Edition. I'm your host, Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is here. And Rob, still lots to get to, but I want to make sure we get this special offer you guys have going on right now with the Golfi team, and an opportunity for people to save big on a home inspection. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a limited time offer, and we're offering you $250 certificate, home inspector of your choice, doesn't matter, to put towards your home inspection if you purchase a house through us. And so it just helps pay for a little bit of expenses that you may endure in purchasing a house. And, hopefully the inspection goes well. If it doesn't, and then you need to walk away from the deal because you have a condition on it, you at least didn't spend as much on the home inspection, and which helps quite a bit. $250. Usually, home inspectors, I think, charge somewhere between $350 to $450. So yeah, we love to help you out. Give us a call. We'll get one of our professional team members that'll help you find a house. That'll give you all the details, and we can help you find a house and help you get some money back on your home inspection when you're purchasing through us.
905-641-0308 to give the Golfi team a call and take advantage of that. And something I know a lot of the team members do there, Rob, is you put together those advertisements, right? Like everything that's inside of the listing for our homes. And I'm sure you know all the wording to put. And I think more importantly, not what to put in those ads. Tell us why this is so important, the actual wording of an advertisement.
It is. You got to be very careful in how you word the information that on the listing, because our job is to verify everything. And if we put something in there that's wrong, we're on the hook for it. The realtor's on the hook for it. So, for instance, let's say somebody puts hardwood floors on the main level, and really it's laminate. Well, guess what? Somebody's going to be buying somebody hardwood floors. That realtor is going to be going to the hardwood floor store and buying hardwood if they, when the new homeowner moves in and finds out that laminate flooring is, that hardwood floor is actually laminate.
Oh, really? You would be on the hook to actually put in what you said was there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To resolve it fast, you're better off just paying it and just doing it. I'll give you another example. This is what an electrician, and this is when I first got in the business about 25 years ago. I listed a house, and I'm in the basement, and I'm looking, I see all new wiring, and I said to the guy, is this, is the whole house all wired up? He said, the whole house has got all new wiring. And I said, okay, great. I'm going to write it down. And he's an electrician, right? So he obviously knows what he's talking about. So I put in all new wiring on this house, right? Well, guess what? The house didn't have all new wiring, just the main floor. The second floor had all the old knob and tube wiring. Uh-oh. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, are you kidding me? So the people that bought it, they're saying, hey, you said it was all new wiring. I go, yeah, I did. Let me go talk to the sellers. So I go and talk to the sellers, and I said to them, I'm sitting there at the table, and I said, you guys, like, you told me it's all new wiring. And the husband wasn't saying a word, because he knew he said that to me, and he knew that he lied, but he was being quiet. His wife would say, Rob, mostly new wiring. I go, yes, I know that now, but it was all new wiring when I was talking to your husband, and apparently he's pretty quiet right now. He's not chatting, and I guess he's and anyway, so I had to fork out money to pay for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I resolved it right away. I didn't want it to go through all this, litigate. So the people that were buying it, they were happy. I said, I cut them a check. I said, that's it. And even the lawyer says, Rob, he goes, most realtors back then, they wouldn't have wrote the check like you did. They would have fought it out and whatever. I said, listen, I don't need negativity. I says, now I learned my lesson. And I'm very careful what I write down in listings. But even same thing, people say new roof. It's not a new roof. It's new shingles. New shingles in 2024 or 22 or whatever. All new windows or all new vinyl windows. I usually say all vinyl windows. That's it. And mostly new, and I'll put down mostly new. I never say all new, because who knows? There's always that one window they miss, right?
Yeah, right. Well, we don't have to do that one.
No, yeah. Like, yeah, you gotta be careful. All new plumbing, you can't say that. You don't know what's behind the walls, so don't say it. Like, even though the homeowner says it, like, unless he signs something, you get him signed. If you sign this, you're telling me it's got all new plumbing. I can advertise that. But sometimes you got to be careful. You can't take their word on everything. And you got to verify all information, and that's our job, is to verify all information for anybody that's potentially looking at the house and to buy it. You have to disclose everything. And a lot of realtors go through this. A lot of realtors, they write down what the homeowner says, and the homeowner is not really giving the full proper information that's correct. And so you got to be very, very careful. And the one thing that I'm really I'm seeing a lot now is that, and the real estate boards aren't really tracking it. And the new realtors that came in the last, I say 15 years, if a house has your formaldehyde insulation, that's UFI, if people understand that, those houses that have it, they're not checking it off. I mean, it's dormant now anyway. It was something, that insulation that was put in the 60s that the government gave you grants to put it in, and then 5 years later they gave you grants to get it out because it was toxic.
Oopsie, we made a little mistake.
Yeah. So, but anyway, but when I first got into business, I mean, those houses were kind of difficult to sell. Right. And so, because if it had the UFI insulation, but now, like, these houses, the agents aren't really putting it in. So you have to go back like 10, 15 years on a certain listing when you're looking at it to make sure it doesn't have UFI in it. I mean, your vomit insulation is dormant now. It's not gonna hurt you because it's been, I don't know how many years, 50 years, 60 years since they had this insulation, and it's pretty well dead. But still, it does have a stigma on certain houses. And but the young people don't know that. They don't know what UFI is. And I guess it doesn't matter. But if you go back, you have to look at the history of the listing. So it's crazy. That's information that's needed to know. But the other thing is, I don't know why on the body of the contract that we have, the purchase and sale agreement, it still has the house does not have UFI, and if it does, you have to disclose it. UFI doesn't matter anymore now, in my opinion, but I don't know why they haven't taken it off. I mean, there's other factors in a house like asbestos and there's insulation. There's vermiculite insulation that's in the attic that put in. They don't have anything like that in there, but they still have the UFI. So, I mean, the Ontario Real Estate Association, they're always trying to change things, but they're changing the wrong things, and that's the problem. And they got to do something about that.
Okay, well, while we're talking about how things can go wrong, Rob, things can go wrong on closing day, and that's a really happy day. People are excited. They're ready to get the keys, sign up all the paperwork, but it doesn't always go as planned.
It doesn't. It's one of the most stressful days for people, especially for men. And that is a big day. A lot of heart attacks happen on that day.
Really?
For men, it is, yeah. And I tell my clients, especially if they have their parents are moving, and I say, look, I go, you got to help your parents out because they're elderly, and moving is a big factor for them. And I says, especially your dad, because in his mind, it's a big thing, because men hate moving. They hate moving. They don't want to move. If they could stay where they are forever, they will. But it's their spouse, their wife that wants to move. They want either the bigger, the smaller, I don't know, whatever house they want. But for men, it is a very, very stressful day. And so they got to be careful about that. So that's one thing. But another thing is, close on a Wednesday or Thursday. Don't close on a Friday, because you know what? If there's any hiccups, then you have to wait till the Monday, and that's a whole weekend you got to wait to close the deal. But a lot of issues that do happen on closing day is funding issues. Sometimes the banks, they change their mind. Hey, no, sorry. We just found something on your credit bureau, or we just found out you lost your job. You're not going to be able to pay for this. So the funding is definitely a situation. And then title problems, unsolved liens. I'll tell you, this happened to me. We sold a house, and I represented the buyer. And the seller didn't even know there was a lien on his house. Had no clue. He didn't know.
Oh.
He bought it brand new. Apparently, when the house when he bought it, there was a registered lien against it because the builder put it against. I'm not sure what happened, but a contractor put it against the builder because he owed money to him. Well, for some reason, it did close, and so that guy had a lien on his house for who knows how many years. He stayed there for 10, 20 years. So anyway, when my guy put the offer in, no problem. We usually put down title search. Now, what the buyer's lawyer is supposed to do is search title 2 weeks or more before closing date. So if there is a problem on title, you've got 2 weeks or more to rectify any problems on this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the lawyer, the day before closing, or even the morning of closing, I get a call from my friend because he's the one that bought this house. He goes, Rob, he goes, there's a lien on this house, and like he's talking to me, it's like my fault, right? And I'm going, what are you talking about? I go, are you just finding this out now? And he goes, yeah. And I go, who's your lawyer? And he goes, well, it's my corporate lawyer. He did. I go, and he's trying to blame me. And okay, I said to him, I go, okay, I go to my buddy, I go, listen, I'm not going to steer you the wrong way, but I put on that contract that he is supposed to search title more than 2 weeks before closing. I go, what you're telling me now, you should have been telling me 2 weeks or more ago. Yeah. And I said, your lawyer did not search title, and he looked it up the morning of trying to close this deal, and now you guys can't close because of him. And so I told him, I explained everything to him. He went to his lawyer and he says, you know, one, I don't like that you were trying to blame Rob on because it was his fault. It's your fault. And I showed him, and he didn't, he knew he was wrong. The lawyer knew he was wrong, but sometimes, you know, you can point the finger and hopefully it ends there, but I'm pointing it back at him and saying, I did my job, the lawyer didn't do his job. So you got to make sure the lawyer does do title search, and get a good lawyer. Get a real estate lawyer. Don't get a lawyer, you know, that does he's an expert in one field, but not in the real estate field. So if you got a corporate lawyer, say, hey, do you do real estate? Just say, listen, if you don't do it, I got to get somebody that does it, because that makes a big difference. So, you know, because they can catch things on title that maybe a corporate lawyer wouldn't, because they don't do that every day.
Right.
So you got to be things. Property issues. I had one time, the seller, she took all the light fixtures out. I mean, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So anyway, I told my client, I said, I got good news and bad news for you. Good news is you're going to get new light fixtures. And I said that, and I said,
you need some flashlights.
Yeah, exactly. And I said I go, and plus whatever the light fixtures cost, it's going to be, you're going to make money on this. So we actually did a holdback of $5,000 for the light fixtures. This was just a regular townhouse. I mean, light fixtures would have been like maybe, I don't know, $1,000 for this house. So they actually gained money by doing that. But that had to get resolved right away on closing date. We walked through the morning of closing, and we found out that there was no light fixtures. That's why you always got to do a walkthrough prior to closing. But there's always all these unexpected things you got to watch out for. But yeah, the one thing is, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice. Close either Wednesday or Thursday. Do not close on Friday.
Always great tips, and that comes from all of the experience with the Rob Golfi team. Before we go, Rob, I just want to mention this exceptional swimmer in Grimsby who's looking to swim across Lake Ontario, and her name is Molly Bent.
Yes, and she's going to swim across Lake Ontario. They're doing a fundraiser for I think the
Pathstone Mental Health.
Yeah, for mental health, and that's amazing. And this is a fantastic thing. And I think it's the Pathstone Foundation. So Google Pathstone Foundation, and you could do a donation there. And her goal is to hit 30,000. She's at 4,250 right now. But if you guys can help her out and help raise money, that'd be fantastic. And yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you for that, Rob. Yeah, Pathstone Mental Health does such great work here in Niagara. They have many walk-in clinics and focusing on youth mental health. So go ahead and look her up, Molly Bent. Welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara Edition. I'm your host, Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is with us today. And just before the break, Rob was breaking down the month that was real estate, July. Things a little bit softer when it comes to home sales last month, but some opportunity there for you, and the Golfi team can help you out with that.
But I was looking at the numbers, and I went back almost to 2020 of unit sales. And for instance, for Niagara Falls, like last month in July, there was 89 sales, right, in the city of Niagara Falls, which is pretty low, I think. But like if you look at in June or July of 2020, it was 171. So we're down.
Oh, wow.
We're down quite a bit. And yeah, exactly. And so far August this month, there's only been 34 sales in August of 2024. So I don't know, like the numbers are way down for unit sales. That's for Niagara Falls. But then if I
When
go,
did the sales? I always wonder this, Rob. When do the sales actually get recorded? Is it when I send that offer and then you sign back and say okay, or is it when the handing of the keys happens? When does that
it
happen?
gets recorded when it's firm on the system,
Okay.
on the system. So if you do a deal today, but the closing date is in September, October, and it firms up today, that's considered a deal done, a firm deal. So, but for instance, like if you look here, St. Catharines, okay, in 2020, in July, 285. It was 114 in July of this year. Like
Wow.
it's crazy. It's
Over
crazy.
double.
Like the numbers are down. The numbers are way down. I mean, like February, March, there were about 155, 185 for April, 169 in May, and then 159. So it dropped. So like I'll tell you, the one thing about if you're selling a house, and I usually say, there's certain months when to sell. In Toronto, it usually starts like the end of January, February, March is like killer. Same thing in the Hamilton area. It's February, March, but with Niagara, it's March, April is when the big key months are. If you look here on this one in St. Catharines, so you could see that the numbers are high in March and April. But if you look in February, it's not as high. But in Hamilton, it's higher in February than it is in March. So that's the key thing. Now, agents in Niagara, they don't do much in Hamilton. They wouldn't know that.
Right.
They wouldn't know that because we work, 4 different markets. We got agents that live in all the different markets. We know when the market's moving along the Queen Elizabeth Way as it's coming down from Toronto to Niagara. So if you're looking at selling and your next year is the time to sell, it's probably good to put your house on the market probably towards the middle of March to do that. So you don't miss the March market in case it comes a little earlier, and you don't miss the April market. So those are key factors. But the numbers are way low right now. They're way low, and it's surprising. So for instance, also in let's say in Welland, like they've only sold 31 homes in all of Welland right now so far this month of August. But but let's look at July. In the peak of certain times in 2020, they sold 119 homes. That was a high, the most they ever did in Welland. Welland's a tough market. It is a tough market. If you're a realtor,
What do you think that is?
you know what it is? It's left field. It's, you know what I mean? It's not off the Queen Elizabeth Way. It's not in the main corridor in Southern Ontario. Like it's just, you know what I mean? Like you kind of have to go off the beaten path, which is not bad. A lot of people are moving to Welland. It's because the property values are good. Prior to COVID, I'll tell you, you could have got super deals. You could have got super deals anywhere, but even way better deals in Welland. And because Welland property values have gone up quite a bit since after COVID and everything, and Welland and Fort Erie were tough areas to sell. Like if you didn't price your house, if you were in Fort Erie, Welland, if you weren't priced right, you were sitting and waiting for someone to bring an offer in, and it would take months and months and months. But now that's changed. It's changed, but also the values have gone up quite a bit. So now people look at Niagara Falls or St. Catharines first before they would go to Welland. So if they say, okay, we can't find anything in Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, let's check out Welland, see what's out there. Now, Welland, I mean, everybody's got an opinion of Welland. Welland is, either you hate it or you love it. But you know what? Every town has got character. Every town has got like a vibe, and if you know what? And I think Welland has got a decent vibe. If you live there, you get to meet some great people, and there's some great things happening there. And it's just outside of Port Colborne. I kind of love the town of Port Colborne. I think it's such a great little town, and it's just got a nice little quaint little area. It's got you got Lake Erie there and everything else. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of charm to it. A lot of great events there happening as well.
So now I did a printout of all of Niagara, the sales since 2015. Now we reached peak in 2021 with over 10,000 homes sold in all of Niagara. Now, the average prior to that was around 7,000. We had one time in 2016, 9,000 homes sold. Now, 2016, I remember this very, very distinctively. The market was just like it was like in 2021. And then 2017 in the first quarter, it jumped just like it did in 2022. And yeah, so now like the reason why unit sales in 2017 were lower than 2016 because the 3/4 of that year, the sales or the second half of the year, the sales dropped significantly. So if I broke this down month by month, it would show that. Now, if you look at 2021 and look at 2022 in the first quarter, it was just insane. It was insane.
It was happening.
It was happening. So that's a repeat. Like basically, how many years later, if you look at it, 2016, right?
It's essentially a 5-year cycle.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost like 6 years later. 6 years later, it's a repeat. And then the year after, it's a repeat. So the first quarter. So if we actually had to guess the year, so if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2025 and 26. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I do predict 2026 is going to be a banner year. And also 2027 in the first half. I could be off probably 6 months or a year, but it's in that range. So if you own a house and you want to hang in there and you want to get top dollar for your house, that is the time. But remember this, if you're buying and selling at the same time, it balances out. So if you're selling in 2026, 27, that means you're getting high dollar, but it also means you're going to pay high dollar on buying it. But here is the catch. If you buy a house now and you keep your house, you buy another house, and then you sell in 2026, you beat inflation. You beat it because now you got 2 properties going up in value. And you're going to sell one at a high price, and otherwise you move into the other one or whatever. But I think if you can manage to have 2 properties and hang on to them for another couple of years, just rent them out, and carry them, you will probably make I'd say probably a couple $100,000 depending or more depending on the price point that you're buying at.
Great option.
I really do believe that, and. It's hard to gauge the market. Right now, it is a tough market. The interest rates are tough. I think they've in September, they've got to increase it by 0.5 point because the 2 quarters that they increased did not move the needle anything at all. And a lot of actually builders are developers are starting to go bankrupt. And it's hurting them. So like things got to change because we need these guys to build. And if they all go bankrupt, then we got nobody that can build. If they all close up shop, and a lot of them are, and so we have to be watch how that goes. So
yeah, the average person might not think about that. Oh, well, who cares for the builders? Well, we're such a shortage of homes, so we need those skills to be utilized. And yeah, it's not something we want to see happening.
No. So and it's funny though. Like some of the developers I know, they're feeling it. They're feeling it right now, just because normally what they're developing today, like every year, they usually have projects closing, meaning projects that people are moving into. So now in the last 2 years, they have nothing people moving into. And if they're building something now, they got no cash flow. So they're digging deep into their own pockets of trying to maintain and stay alive in this market, because and they're paying a lot of interest. I'll tell you that. A lot of these developers, they own land, and it's easy for them to pay the interest on the land because they had money coming in because they were selling houses, they were closing and everything every year. It was no problem. But in the last 18 months, there hasn't been really anything happening. So if developers got no money coming in, but they're still paying out, it does catch up to them. And but I know excuse me, but it not only the small people feel it, but the big giants feel it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, there is that reminder for all of us, like as much as we're all feeling it in our own homes and we want to see those interest rates be cut, it's so important to businesses of all kinds and specifically developers when we need those houses to be built. So yeah, it continues to be such an interesting landscape, Rob, and that's why we appreciate your expertise and your ability to really break down the market for us. This has been some really interesting numbers that you've brought us today. Rob Golfi is with us today. You can check out more about him and his team and find a free home evaluation at robgolfi.com. It's GOLFI. And this is the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition. Rob, always a pleasure to chat with you on the show. Thank you so much for taking some time today.
Thank you.
And this has been the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition. I'm Steph Vivier. To find out more about Rob Golfi and his team, go to robgolfi.com, 905-641-0308.
Yeah, picking the wrong realtor, that'd be a big mistake. That cost me money.
Hi, Rob here, and hey, we get it. We get that the right realtor makes all the difference. My advice, talk to 3 realtors, including one from the Golfi team. Compare and you'll see no one gets results like Golfi because of the millions we invest in marketing, getting you the most money in the least amount of time.
The Golfi team, Golfi gets it sold.
Pick the right realtor. Just Google Golfi.